Hello, welcome. Marlene here. Today we're working on this adorable lamb cookie. I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process. You'll find a little photo of the supplies, most of the supplies that I use to execute this. If you make purchases via my Amazon store, you directly contribute to my channel. So thank you for that. And now on to the step-by-step tutorial. So I got a silhouette some time ago, and there is a learning curve and there is like just getting used to using this tool. But once you have it and you figured it out, boy oh boy, it really opens so many opportunities and things that you can kind of improve on. So here's my little lamb, and I drew this stencil, and now I can use it as a decorating guideline. This is fantastic for those of you who have trouble aligning things, but also if you give cookie decorating classes, when you hand this to the student, they're basically just coloring in the lines, and it just takes the guesswork out for them, and also you don't have to hold their hand through the whole process, and they can feel a little bit more kind of independent as they work. Now I added the pink there to the ears, just a little dollop of icing, and thanks to these guides I know exactly where I need to put it, and just like that I smooth it out, and then I'll be able to pipe on top of this once it dries. And now I'm adding some black icing to the feet right here, and thanks to these guidelines I can quickly and easily know exactly where to pipe. Now you can add the guides in a color that's closer to the color of the cookie. Now that will be trickier to see, but then it's more forgiving should it be sticking out once the cookie is done. So that's entirely up to you. The brown just kind of looks like shading when it's peeking out. So I suggest not using like blue or things like that. You don't want that showing unless, of course, it's a blue design. And I'm going to let these little hooves dry, and then I'm going to be able to come in and add the body. Now, do you have perhaps some issues with bleeding when it comes to these types of like little black elements? If you do, when you come in with the white, you can leave a hairline separation here so that the white is not actually touching the black and therefore eliminating the bleeding issue, okay? So that is kind of like a quick fix for that. The little mouth area here, so I'm adding a triangle, just like that in pink icing. I only want a small amount of that to show there. And then the bow here, this is the background color on the bow right here, so I'm just adding that there, and you want to smooth that down. So this is background, so it's like the inside of the bow. We don't want it sticking up, so I'm just kind of flattening it out. Just like so. And where I brush it down, that's going to be hidden by the other section, so you're not even going to see that. So there. We're going to let this dry, and this will just become a background. Okay, now that the base for the little bow area has had time to dry, I'm going to fill in the knot here. Just like a circle of icing, and then connecting to that and outlining the loops to the bow on either side. Just like that. You want to get the point there to kind of like heel into the knot so that it fades away. And now I'm just adding some lines for the pleating in the bow so that the bow has a bit more interest. like so. And we're going to let this all crust over before we can fill in these areas. And now we can move on. The little areas that I started with are dry, and now I'm starting here with the body. I'm filling the whole body as if it was just one big thing. I'm creating like a background for the arms to rest on, and so that's why I'm just filling the whole thing, and then later I'll add the arms as a secondary layer of icing on top of the body, and that'll make them look like they're more in the foreground. Okay, so that's all outlined, and now I can just come in and fill all that. And if you see that your brown line is showing, when you pipe that second time, you can kind of like push it over if you need it nudged, or you can nudge it with your needle tool. You can see there, okay? Okay, and we're going to heel all this over. We want this to be, I know it's the wool, but I want it to be smooth for the next step. I'm just going to shake it. The cookie, I'm doing the bow just because it's going to be easier for me to tuck in the white after than trying to come in and fill in this area after the white's in. So I'm just using those pleats that I made. I'm going in the middle here. And then outlining here, and I'm going to just fill this whole area in. Hoping to get it all to heal, to create kind of like a puffy on the edge, but with the pleats in the middle, thanks to those little lines. So let's just play with this a bit until it heals over, and I'm going to shake it. You see? Those pleats there, giving the bow a little bit more kind of interest. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. There. Once this has had time to crust, I'll be able to add the white, but I want to wait so that it doesn't all just blend together. Oh, one thing I forgot, I want to add a little swirl to the top, to the knot there, so. Just to kind of jazz up that knot area. There, just like so, and that's it for right now. And I'm filling in now the top of the head in that white area there. So I'm connecting to the blue. It's had time to crust, so I can just outline right here. Okay, and then that whole white area. There. You see the icing? It's holding a line, but it's healing when I connect like everything together. So your icing doesn't have to be thick. to pipe lines, and it doesn't have to be super runny to heal over. It's a misconception that icing needs to be so thick to hold a line. And it doesn't have to be water to flood. Okay, now I'm just gonna fiddle a little bit with it to get it to heal over. Okay. There. There it is. We're going to let this dry so that I can kind of airbrush my shading on there. Here's the lamb. It's dried, and now I'm just resting my stencil on and quickly airbrushing the fur elements, the little kind of tufts of fur, and I'm just hitting those there. And then the arms, just to help me know where to kind of create those. And that's it. Starting off with some gray here, and I'm outlining the ears, leaving the pink that we added exposed so that it looks like the inside of the ear. And you want to shape that. You use your guidelines as kind of your perimeter, and you can easily coax your icing into position like so. And now the other side. There. Okay. So there we go. And now I'm adding the little hooves. So I have my guidelines thanks to that second airbrushing. I can easily place those, and I'll shape them with my needle. There. There we go. And now the airbrushing that we did, that secondary airbrushing, what I'm doing is I'm adding lines just so that that airbrushing looks like it's coming from underneath, like it's a shadow from those. You see, I'm just above it, leaving it exposed. I want it to show a little bit, covering about half of those airbrush lines, and then dots, and just to finish it off, just like so. Okay, and the body, same thing. I'm hiding half the airbrush. And then we're adding the arms, one of these arms to be resting on top of the body. And again, you can either have a hairline separation between those hooves and the white. It's up to you, but it is on the white base, so probably not going to, oh, my needle had black icing on it, so taking that off. Okay. And now let's heal up our little arm area. And it depends if you want to be right over that line. I wanted it to have kind of like a shadow. So let's try to do better here on this side so that some of it is showing. So it looks like a shadow coming in from the arm. Let's fill this in. And you see now the arms look like they're resting on top, as opposed to if we had piped them like with a separation on the base cookie, then everything would be at the same level. This way they're kind of a little bit in the front of the design. Okay, and then we're going to fill this face area in the same color that we did the ears. So I'm outlining the pink here. So you see, by coming in on both sides with the gray, that pink line gets dramatically reduced. And I'm just filling in this whole area. Okay. There. And a shake. And now I'm using pearls for the eyes. Make sure you press them into the wet icing. If you add them once the icing is dry, then they sit really at the surface and it gives a very bulgy eye. This way it kind of sinks into the icing. Almost looks like a stuffed animal where like the outer perimeter, when they add the plastic eyes to the fabric, gets pulled in. Well, the icing gets pulled in around the eye. So you can see here the little face is cute. I'm adding some eyebrows to the face. So I'm just adding like a little rice, even smaller than a rice, over each eye. And then we're going to add some blush. I think blush is crucial to this particular design to amp up the cuteness. So right here, a little touch of pink on either side. When you make your own stencils, you'll need to consider if you're using them to decorate or as painted cookies. As you can see here, to decorate, you want to get closer to the edge. But when it comes to the painted cookie, you need to be able to like have enough white around for it to just sit correctly on there for you to be able to stencil it. And so it has to be slightly smaller towards the center, leaving you a bit more perimeter. So I'm just going to quickly stencil this cookie. Got my icing on the spatula right here. I'm just pressing this down, and now I'm going to stencil the design onto my cookie here. You're better to use a thickish icing. It causes less smearing underneath the cookie. I don't have enough, so I'm just adding a little blob there. All right. I think I'm pretty good. Okay, so right here, this is my only cookie that I made, but you can see right here, this happened because the cookie is rounded, and so I didn't get a tight seam right there, so that's why that happened. I'm going to try to clean it up with a paintbrush though. A damp paintbrush. You can see it's working pretty good. You don't want to have a lot of water on your paintbrush or else you'll damage the base, but it's just to clean up this. Probably not ideal if this is an order, but if they're just for you, you don't need to scrap this cookie. Make sure to wipe the brush in between passes so that you don't reapply the icing that you've taken off. Here are the completed cookies and the two versions. I almost prefer the paint-a-cookie version. He's so cute. Now, you certainly could execute this design without the stencil. Some people use a projector, but funnily enough, I've seen people use the projector and then use a marker to trace the guidelines on, because while they're working, their hand blocks the projection, and so they're adding guidelines nonetheless. So you're kind of like doing this anyway, so what's the point of the projector? You're better to just use the stencil, and then you can quickly add your guidelines to all your cookies. So it's really up to you how you want to work. I hope I gave you some insight to a different kind of process, maybe make your life a little bit easier. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.